Teachers. Luang Por put particular effort into teaching visiting groups of school teachers. He saw the importance to society of high standards in the teaching profession and was conscious of living through a period in which those standards seemed in decline. There were certainly some fine and dedicated teachers still to be found, and yet, in an increasingly materialistic society, where the monetary rewards of a career had become the primary measure of its worth, the status of the school teacher was declining. Teaching had become less and less attractive as a career and had become the fallback option for those who could not succeed in more lucrative pursuits. An increasing number of people were entering the teaching profession without any real passion for teaching. In the countryside, teachers were notorious for living beyond their means, and male teachers in particular were often given to heavy drinking and gambling. Luang Por had a favorite opening question to visiting groups of teachers. "Oh, you're teachers. Do you only teach others, or do you teach yourselves as well?" In Luang Por's view, teaching children was not restricted to passing on information, but included acting as a good role model to them. "Some teachers complained to me that the children were hard to teach and quarreled a lot, and so I asked them whether the teachers all lived together in harmony. They didn't reply. So I told them it was understandable that the children quarreled because they were still children and didn't know any better, but for the teachers to be quarreling was unacceptable." By the late 1960s, with the Vietnam War at its height, Western influence in Thailand was at an all-time high and was often blamed for a decline in the levels of unquestioning deference that many authority figures considered was owed to them by their subordinates. This became a major issue in universities. When teachers asked Luang Por for advice on dealing with disrespect from their pupils, he would tell them that times had changed. Now teachers could no longer expect respect as their due. They had to earn it. The way to earn it was not just to say the right things, but to train themselves so that their students trusted and looked up to them. "If you can't teach yourself," he said, "how can you teach others? Take the Buddha as your model. Once, at the end of a Dhamma talk, the Buddha asked Venerable Sariputta a question in front of the whole monastic community. 'Sariputta,' he said, 'do you believe what I just taught?' Venerable Sariputta was wise. He raised his hands in Anjali and replied, 'Not yet, Lord.' On hearing this answer, the Buddha praised him, saying, 'Good, Sariputta. Wise people shouldn't believe anything too easily. Whenever you hear something new, the first thing you should do is go away and reflect on it with wisdom. Only when you see that it's correct and well-reasoned should you believe it. That's the way of the sages.' See how skillful the Buddha was? If it was us these days, and one of our students didn't believe what we said, we'd probably lose our temper and chase them out of the classroom. That's what usually happens. So, all of you, teach yourselves as well as others. Then you won't suffer on account of your students." Luang Por would often expand upon this theme of being a role model. Be like the master mold that they use for Buddha amulets. Have you ever seen one? A single mold is enough for a great many amulets. Molds are made with real expertise. The face, the eyebrows and the cheeks are hollowed out precisely, without distortions or indentations, in order to make beautiful Buddhas. All of you teachers are like molds for your students. You must make yourself beautiful by cultivating the virtues of a teacher, and by abiding at all times by the moral standards and correct behavior appropriate to a leader. If there was to be a return to a higher standard of morality in society, teachers would have to lead the way. They were closest to the children and had great influence over them. Children are like vines. They have to climb up trees If one tree is a few centimeters away and another is 10 meters, which one do you think the vine will climb up? Luang Por challenged teachers with a high standard. They needed to be constantly mindful of their behavior. Don't just teach them with words. Standing, walking, sitting, your speech, everything should be a teaching for them. Then the children will emulate you. They're quick-minded, quicker than adults. Turn towards the moral teachings and take them as guiding principles. Be devoted to them. Don't get so intoxicated with material things that you just become devoted to having a good time. Fulfill your responsibilities as a leader and teacher, just as the Lord Buddha did. He illustrated this point with the Jataka tale. Once, a certain king possessed a thoroughbred horse. This horse was quick and nimble, intelligent and easy to train. One day, a new groom came to look after it. The new groom had a deformed leg and walked with a limp. The horse saw him walking around every day, and, being a quick learner, before long began walking in the same way. The horse thought that the way the groom walked was a teaching. Soon the horse had lost its graceful movement and went lame. A doctor was called in to treat the horse. He searched for splinters in the horse's hoof, but could find nothing. And although he gave the horse medicine, it continued to walk with a limp. Then the Buddha-to-be came to look. He investigated the stable and the surroundings thoroughly and could see no cause for the horse's condition. Then, when he saw the groom, he realized what had happened. He suggested that the king change the groom and find someone without a limp. The horse observed the replacement groom walking around, started to copy him, and before long it regained its beauty and grace.